I'm with Sandy Shoshanni from Ba'ad Hayim. Sandy, what is Ba'ad Hayim?
Ba'ad Hayim means Israel Pro-Life. We are a national, non-profit organization which helps women from all sects and religions around the country.
And so you're based all the way around the country of Israel or just here in Jerusalem?
We have offices all over the country. We have counselors who wait for hotline phone calls. We have internet service. We have Facebook. We are absolutely national. We have Save Babies from Eilat all the way up to Kiryat Shmona, all the way around Israel.
And when were you established and why were you established?
Ba'ad Hayim became a non-profit organization in 1988, opening the first office in Jerusalem and shortly after Tel Aviv. We were began by a number of believers who had heard the statistics of abortion in Israel, hearing that approximately 40 to 50,000 babies were aborted each year, and they felt that they had to do something about that. That is actually every fourth pregnancy terminated by abortion. And these people started coming together for prayer groups, began prayer groups around the country, and then after the prayer groups, prayer, which is the base of our work, the prayer groups then allowed establishment of various offices.
And how do you help here in the land?
We help, firstly, by information. We put information on the web primarily and various flyers, and we have books that we've given out, many books about abortion, a lot of information. Also, we do seminars on purity for teenagers, and beyond that, the way that we help the women is by having them phone into a counselor who's very understanding and experienced and trained. They are able to meet with that counselor, get the information that they need so that they can make a wise, intelligent decision about their baby's future. And then we help them with a project called Operation Moses. Operation Moses provides the bed, the stroller, the bathtub, clothing, diapers. Every month we give the women diapers and baby food, formula, according to their need. We provide everything that that baby needs for a full year so that the woman is not in financial straits to keep her child alive.
What causes a woman to have abortion here in the land?
Most women feel some kind of pressure to have the abortion. Almost always when a woman calls our hotline, the first thing she says is, I have to have an abortion. I have no choice. We hear so often that term, I have no choice. And what she means by that is that she's so afraid and feeling so alone that she doesn't know what else she could do besides abort the baby. She typically thinks that she doesn't have the financial resources. She thinks that she doesn't have the emotional support. She feels pressure by her parents or her boyfriend or her life situation, and she feels she has to have an abortion. The poverty situation in Israel is quite serious. Out of a population of 7 million, we have over 800,000 children under the poverty level. Also, 1/4 of the workforce, those who are working, are making under poverty level for their salary.
Has abortion become cultural here in the land?
Abortion is paid for by our government. A woman is required to go to a committee to have an abortion. That committee then would okay the abortion over 97% of the time. The committee okays the abortion. She gets government-funded abortion here. 20,000 abortions a year, 19,000 something abortions a year are paid for by the government. And our laws allow abortion until the end of pregnancy, until that baby is born. The Army will allow 2 girls to have abortions during their Army service. Abortion is allowed on demand for women who are under 18, or they're in the Army, or they're over 40, or it has been incest, rape, adultery, some kind of serious financial situation, which would actually affect the woman's emotional health. The woman's mental health is also a factor. Any factor that would say that this woman is in tremendous crisis would allow her to have a government-funded abortion. Another 20 to 30,000 abortions are done illegally annually. They are not registered. They are not prosecuted. There are no fines for this. And we would like to see those illegal abortion clinics closed down.
So a woman could be actually 8 months pregnant and she can still have an abortion?
A woman could be 9 months pregnant and have an abortion. I have friends who were at the end of their pregnancy and were told that the baby may have some medical issues that the doctors recommended an abortion. I have several people that happened to.
Wow. What circumstances causes a girl to have an abortion?
A girl would have an abortion primarily if she's feeling all alone and she has no options. Often it would be because she hasn't got the finances, and the reality is that she does not have the finances often, because to raise a baby in Israel is going to cost her at least 300 shekels a month. If she's a single mom and not working, her income is going to be under 3,000 shekels a month, and her rent and her bills are going to be that much at least, not leaving her any money to be able to finance that child, much less buy the baby furniture. And so we want to make it feasible for her to bear that child and to feel dignified and not have to beg for diapers.
And that's where you come in and help.
And that's why we're here to help. We're here to say, honey, you're not alone. We want to support you and encourage you and be with you, and not just with our mouths, but in a practical way. We want our faith to be practical.
And how does abortion actually affect a woman? Is there a lot of guilt?
Women are affected by abortion in several different ways. The consequences could be physical in her body, which would mean that she could have difficulty with a pregnancy later. 1/3 of the women will have fertility issues after an abortion. Also, her chances of getting breast cancer increased by 25%. There are many physical responses to abortion. There are primarily emotional responses to abortion. And what I have seen here is that women will either ignore having the abortion. In other words, they'll become rather hard-hearted and say it's not anything, it wasn't a baby. And their hearts will become hard and they'll sweep it under the rug. Or she'll be very much guilt-ridden. And oftentimes women don't realize what's happening to them emotionally. They'll find themselves depressed. They'll find themselves drinking more. They'll find themselves more promiscuous because their self-esteem has gone down, but they don't really realize the reason for it. We often see that happening, that their self-esteem is lessened. And so we want to help women prevent that pain. And an abortion can cause a woman to also want to become pregnant again subconsciously. Often she tries to replace the babies that have been lost.
And does an abortion actually affect a woman physically in her body?
Physically can cause her, at the time of the abortion, of course, she often cries. Most of the women who've had abortions who've come to me for counsel have said that they cried immediately after. They've suffered from the guilt. They've suffered from the regrets. Physically, as I said, she could have fertility issues later. 1/3 of the women will suffer from those fertility issues.
And Israel, the land here, is a very religious community. Is this also affecting the Orthodox community?
Abortion is basically across the board, although rabbis very much differ in their opinions about abortion. Some rabbis say it's not allowed. Some rabbis say a baby is not life until 40 days in the womb. Some rabbis would say that a baby is not life until he's born. There's a tremendous variance. But what I would say is that Talmud says that when we save one life, it's as though we save the world. And so for those of us who are working in this work, helping women keep their babies' lives, I feel that we are able to change one life, and it's as though we've changed the whole world. And for that one mother, that baby is the whole world. Perhaps in the world's eyes, each baby is not anything. It's just one other little person, one other nothing. But in the mother's eyes, that baby is her whole world.
And how acceptable is this amongst the Arab community as well?
In the Arab community also, according to statistics in Israel, it's pretty much the same number of abortions for those who were citizens in Israel. But I would say in the Arab community, it's quite different, because for a woman to be pregnant and to be unwed, her life could be at risk. If they're religious Muslims, then her life could be at risk for honor killing. And so what we do for those women is try to provide them with alternative living situations to protect her. And one of our stories would be a Muslim woman whose brothers actually tried to take her life. She came to us from the hospital, and she was placed in a women's shelter where her brothers did not know where she was. She gave birth to a beautiful little girl. She was then moved to a home of loving believers who kept her and protected her. And now she's on her own. And her finances are quite difficult at this time, but I know that she's going to be okay once her little girl gets into daycare. She's going to find herself a job. This is a woman who, no matter what the situation right now and her family's rejection, she says, I would never change anything because my baby is my life and I love this child.
Does a strict religious family cause women to have abortions?
No, I wouldn't say that being religious encourages abortion. I would say that many times being religious would hinder having an abortion. Primarily, the ones that we see having abortions are those who do not feel that life in the womb is of value. Although, of course, if your family is religious and you've moved away, then you don't want to shame your family. So a lot of times women they consider abortion because of shame. But in many cases, we're able to help those women to move past what other people think and to say, this is what's in my heart, and if you help me, if we help her, then she's able to choose life for her child.
So you must have many, many stories of people's lives you've changed over the years.
I have some really wonderful stories. Paul, we've changed everybody's life over the year. Anybody who chooses to keep her child alive has her life changed as well. Do you know the story of the woman in the time of Solomon? And Solomon, those two mothers who went to Solomon, it was his first case. The two prostitutes came to Solomon with a little baby. And the one mother, her baby had died during the night, and then she'd stolen the baby of the other mother and said, it's my child. And then the woman woke up and said, no, it's my child. And they couldn't come to a decision of what to do with that baby, so they came to Solomon. And Solomon said, bring the baby to me. And when they brought the baby to Solomon, Solomon said, cut the baby in half. And the one mother screamed out, don't do it. Don't cut the baby in half. Give it to her. Give it to the other lady. And then Solomon's judgment, of course, was so wise. And he said, the one who yelled out to save the baby, she's the real mother. And you know, Paul, when she made that decision, she didn't just save the baby's life. When she called out for the baby, she was saying, I've had enough of being a prostitute. I've had enough of being rejected. I've had enough of life like this and being alone and living alone with another prostitute. I don't care what the consequence. I'm going to save the baby's life. I love that child. And that woman chose life, not just for her child, but for herself too, and freedom for herself.
And what stories do you have of lives you've saved here?
And we have, for example, one mother was found crying on the streets. She was a 20-year-old heroin addict who had stopped taking heroin when she realized she was pregnant. And she was sitting on the street homeless because she'd been living in just vacant buildings. And one of our clients saw her there and said, come, Sandy will help you. Ba'ad Chaim will help you. And she came to us wearing all black. She was kind of looking at the ground. She wouldn't look me in the eyes. She was depressed, and she said, I'm pregnant. I have nowhere to go. I don't know what to do. And I said, I can find you housing, but I want you to know that I believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. And she said, that's okay. I prayed that prayer. I believe he is too. But she'd never grown. She'd never known anybody who would help her. And this girl, she, of course, did numerous prenatal tests for her baby because doctors said the baby might have problems since she was a heroin addict. And the doctors warned her, and they saw small things, but she continued her pregnancy. And today, she is a lovely, lovely mother of a 1.5-year-old little girl named Katie. Katie has developed so well. She's way beyond her developmental age. She speaks a little bit, and she walks beautifully, and she's a bright, lovely child. And both mother and baby are wearing bright colors and pinks and pastels. This girl's life has been changed entirely, and she's also a growing believer, and she just wants to know the Lord and wants to be a good mother for her baby. We also had another story where the mother, she had given birth to a little boy, and after the birth, she had become depressed, and she came to us when her little boy was just a few months old, and she came to us crying, saying, I'm now pregnant with twins. I won't be able to cope. I have a good marriage, but my husband and I won't be able to cope with, I've been depressed and I have a baby and I have twins. I can't do it. I'm going to abort the twins. And we said, we're going to help you. We're going to stick with you. We're going to give you a babysitter for your son so you can get out a little bit. We're going to help you with supplies for the twins. We'll give you 2 baby beds. We'll give you a double stroller. Don't do the abortion. You'll be even more depressed. And this woman came to me showing me photos of her 2 little girls who are just beautiful little girls. She said to me, I'm not depressed at all. After the birth of the twins, there was no depression. I'm thrilled. And my girls gave me so much happiness that I actually called them. The one she called Osher, which means happiness, and the other one she called Hallel, which means praise. And she said, these babies are my praise and my joy, and I'm so glad that I kept them alive. I can't believe I even thought of abortion. And you know, a lot of women feel they have no choice, and they say, I have no choice. But true choice, ladies, is choosing what's your instinct, your God-given passion, which is to protect your own child. That is the instinct in the heart of every woman. So much so that in Hebrew, the word for womb or uterus is rechem, and the word in plural, that word in plural is rachamim, which means mercy. Our womb, moms, is the source of mercy in our lives. And when we cut off our womb from serving its purpose as a place of protection and mercy for our child, we're cutting off something in our heart. And I want to tell you now, if you've had an abortion, that God wants to restore that place of mercy in your heart. He wants to say that he is a merciful, loving God, and he will restore that heart of mercy in your life.
Is abortion pushed onto women by doctors without other avenues actually explored?
I don't think doctors primarily want abortion, but we have a major problem in Israel now. The courts have allowed mothers with handicapped babies to sue the doctor for not telling them to abort, and the mothers have won the court cases. And so what we have here in Israel is a very difficult situation where doctors are very much afraid to allow women to carry a baby who may have any kind of disability. So we are number one in the world in prenatal testing. Whereas in many places in the world, 1 or 2 ultrasounds would be done. In Israel, we have perhaps 6 or 7 ultrasounds done during a pregnancy. Women are afraid to carry a baby with a handicap. Doctors are afraid to allow it. So they're pushing very hard for abortion if there's the slightest thought of any kind of problem. And we're talking about things that could be corrected. For example, one woman was told her baby would have a cataract. And she said, well, I won't abort for that. And the doctor said, we'll do more tests. And they did so many tests and badgered her so much that she just didn't know what to do. In the end, I really thank God that she continued her pregnancy, because her baby, although doctors said, and this is true, and this baby was born only 1 week ago, the doctor said your baby will be so handicapped that he will not be able to breathe on his own. He will be like a vegetable. And this woman, anyway, continued her pregnancy. And last week, she gave birth to a healthy little boy. And yes, he does have a cataract, but surgery will correct that. And her baby is not at all mentally dysfunctioning. He's nursing fine. He's strong. He's holding his head up. Her baby is okay. And they did an MRI to find out if there was any brain damage. There is no brain damage. And we thank God that that woman carried the pregnancy to term. And she actually phoned me many times. I'm like, she doesn't need to. I felt humbled. But she kept phoning me and saying, without your help, the baby would not have been alive. Thank you so much.
Lots of people listen to my program over the world. What would you say to any woman thinking about having an abortion today?
I want to tell you, if you're pregnant right now and you're feeling afraid, which I'm sure you are, it's really scary to be alone and not know what to do when you're pregnant. But I want to tell you, you're not alone. There are centers all over the world like ours who want to help you. There are people who want to help you. Look for those people. And I want to say to you that abortion is a quick solution for a long-term problem. If you have an abortion because you feel pressured or afraid now, you perhaps will suffer later. You may have difficulty getting pregnant. You may not get married. You may not have children. You may have fertility issues. Your chances of breast cancer are increased. You may suffer depression, not realize why. Please don't make a quick solution to a long-term problem. And I want to tell you that we have never, ever had a woman come into our office with a baby in her arms and say she was sorry for that. Never. She's always been so grateful that she finally decided to be brave enough to continue pregnancy. But women who've had abortions many times have come in saying, I'm so sorry. If I'd only known that you would have helped me, if I've only known what could have been. So please, if you're pregnant, consider wisely and intelligently what the future could bring for your life, and choose life for your child and yourself.
Really, there's another Holocaust happening here in the land of Israel, isn't there?
Yes, Paul. During the Holocaust, Hitler slaughtered 1.5 million Jewish children. But right now in our nation, we have seen 2 million abortions since 1948, the founding of the state. We have approximately 150 abortions daily. And I want to tell you that those women do not need to be aborting their children. We could be protecting them and providing for them.
And what's your prayer finally for this nation, for this land, for the women here in the land?
I want to tell you that my prayer is basically threefold. It's for the babies. I want to speak out for those who have no voice, for those who have been aborted. And I want to ask God for our nation to have mercy on our nation for the shedding of innocent blood. Oh God, protect and defend our nation despite our sin, despite our hard-heartedness. I want to ask for changed laws to protect those unborn children. And I want to pray for the babies in the womb right now, that their mothers would have hearts of mercy, that their womb would be a place of protection for the babies, that their lives would be saved from abortion. And I want to pray for those women who have had abortions, that their hearts would not be hard toward a loving God, a merciful God, that these women who've had abortion would know that there is a God of mercy who wants to give them forgiveness and be reconciled with them and say, my daughter, I know what you've done, and the blood of my son has carried that sin, come to me and be forgiven and be released from your guilt and sin.
Now you have a website for those people who'd like to know more about the ministry here. What's your website address?
Our website is www.beadchaim.com, beadchaim.com. Please contact us if you need help. And if you've had an abortion, we have a beautiful forest called Ganei Chaim, Life Gardens, where you can come and plant a tree in memory of the child who has not been born, who has been either aborted or miscarried. You can also write our offices and we'll plant a tree in memory of that child. So we bless you, and I ask you, take time to consider your decision about the baby in your womb.
Okay, Sandy, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening, and I just bless you all for praying for us. Thank you so much.